a little bit about my adventure in Ireland. I went on a sacred journey, again, for those of you that don't know and are not uh, familiar with the channel. For all the folks who signed up for the live stream, thank you so much. It's just really wonderful to have the love and support. For all the people out there who have stepped forward to help me go forward in my own journey, I'm sending you an enormous amount of love and gratitude. I hope you understand how deeply I appreciate it. So, this, again, I'm just going to repeat this a little bit. This is a freshman effort for me. And so, I don't expect this live stream to go extremely smoothly. I think there might be some, uh, fussy stuff that I have to do that I'm not used to doing. So, bear with me. And we will get there together, okay? So, on the 16th of September, I flew to Ireland with my daughter, and we had a wonderful adventure. She did have to leave, sadly, before I did, and so I had about, oh gosh, maybe 10 days on my own, and I had an intention to visit many of the sacred ancient sites, and I had a particular thought in mind about what that would be like. And in fact, what happened, uh, outside of my plan, I had a plan, but what actually happened was I ended up spending significant amounts of time traveling around the Boyne Valley and spending time inside the ancient passage tombs. So, if you don't know anything about that information, those sites are um, have megalithic passage tombs, sacred sites that were built before the pyramids. And so I was drawn in, and each time I went into the tomb, various tombs, you can see there's a video on my channel. You can look at that if you want. I think I visited 7 or 8 different spots. And while there, I carried the cards with me just because. And sure enough, I would go into these places, I would have the cards in my purse, and literally I could feel the electricity. And so I decided I had to go back and do some card pulls from there. And so this live stream event today is the first reading from the cards that were pulled. So we're going to go through those cards. I'll show you the card pulls, and I have some pictures to share with you from inside the tomb. Okay, so this is the reading for the community collective here on Earth in terms of where we're at and what our experience has been and what our spiritual journey will be going forward, having come through the eclipses and all the things that have happened astrologically this year in 2017, pardon me, as we prepare to go forward through the new year. Actually, Spirit's telling me through the solstice. So basically from here through to the end of the year, meaning the solstice, and then beyond, as the light comes back into the world and the changes that are meant to happen as a result of the work we've done in 2017 begin to dawn as the light comes back after the solstice. So thanks again for being here, and I just want to jump in, okay? So this reading, this community reading, was done from the Fourknocks Cold Hills Passage Tomb. I didn't know that this place existed, and the story is I was actually at Douth. I had returned to Douth. I was doing some card readings, and Douth is, I guess the best way to put it is it's in the public domain in a way that places like Newgrange and Knowth are not. So those sites are very well known. They're very highly guarded and protected. You can only go in with a tour group, etc., etc. And one of the local folks that I had engaged with told me that there were passage tombs all over the countryside, and some of them you could gain access to. And This photo here is just a photo of my approach, actually, up to uh, the one of the passage tombs located in Null. It's called Fourknocks, and in traditional Irish, that means Cold Hills Passage Tomb. So I was told that you go down the road, you go towards the passage tomb, and you find a sign by the side of the road that tells you, go to so and so's house, and you can get the key, and you can actually go in. So there's no restriction at all. You don't have to pay a fee. You can just go and have your moments inside the tomb. So I was lucky enough to have someone come with me. I did some readings while I was in Ireland. And one of the wonderful women who did a reading for agreed to accompany me to the passage tomb. And as the night before, as I was sitting at Tara, I had an urgent message come in. I checked my email, and there was another woman who was urgently trying to get in touch with me because she had been told that there were messages that were waiting for her at Tara, which is where I was sitting when the message came in. And so we connected, and so there were three of us, three women in the tomb, two embodied persons and one person there in spirit. So I thought that was very special. So you walk up to the door, and what you find actually is a giant iron door. You put your key in. It took us a while to find the right house to find the key, but we eventually did. And, you know, for me, it's a very intense opening, if you will. And I felt as though this moment was the beginning of my real spiritual journey in Ireland. And it was very profound. I was very excited and a little bit terrified, I have to say. So when you open the door, this is what you see. When you go into the chamber, I would describe it almost as it's an I would say an you know, it's under the ground, so it's an umbrella, inverse umbrella shape, and there's a domed roof. And in each passage tomb that I was in, there are at least three separate, again, these are my words, burial altars. So here we can see, looking in the entryway into the main passage altar. And so what the ancient folks would do, you know, according to the research that I've done, so I'm not an expert, I just want to say that, folks would cremate the people who had passed on and bring the remains into the passage tomb. In each one of these passage tombs, on the day of the solstice, there is a shaft of light that comes in as the sun rises. And having been in many of these places and you know, just sort of absorbing the energy, what I think, and again, I'm not an expert, but I think that there are usually three different burial bowls. You can see one area here, the main area. And, you know, it's what we would now call, at least in the West, the four directions. And so I believe that folks were here so their soul could prepare to move on. That's my thinking on what the belief was. And it may even be true. One of the things I wondered is if the remains were moved around the inside of these passage tombs and perhaps joined together in this main type of area that always faced the entryway or the passage that will be illuminated by the sun on the solstice. So this is a little bit of a close-up. Each one of these, I'm just going to call them altars, those are my words, looks very much the same. It was very dark in there. It's very hard to take photographs, and I just had my cell phone. So that is what you see from the inside. I'm just going to show you a little bit of a close-up. There are a lot of glyphs and a lot of carvings and a lot of beautiful ancient artwork all over the inside of the tombs. And again, I just sadly did not have the capacity to take extremely clear photos in this moment. And you are actually discouraged from taking photos, but there's a thought that the light from a flash of a camera degrades the glyphs over time. So that's where this community reading originated from. I just wanted to share with you the spot that I was in while we were sitting in meditation. So basically what happened was we went in. It was a little bit terrifying for me, I have to tell you, because being a clairvoyant, I am extremely receptive. And I was, I had, my fears were sort of ramped right up to the top about what might happen. And I was worried about being overwhelmed by ancient voices, so to speak. And, I guess my own capacity as a human being to handle the adventure I was on. And in that moment, I was really thinking of all of you because, in the readings that I've been doing and the intense moments that we've had together, many people have expressed that idea about how difficult it is to be in passage, to be in a moment where the stakes are really high and you're trying to trust yourself and you don't know if you can do it. And so, in the moment, that's part of what was going through my head. And so just props to all of you because I had the experience that you've been expressing to me since March when I started doing private readings. It was really profound, and I was given the gift while inside the passage tomb of having my own passage through that experience and being able to sit with my concerns and my fears and my, I don't know about you guys, but most of my fears are always about, can I do it? Am I good enough? Do I deserve it? Should I be here? Am I asking too much? And the truth is, really in those moments, it's an opportunity to be fully who you are and to experience yourself, unfettered in a way, and facing your fears. And you'll see, because I'll show you a picture, but one of the things that came out in the reading was exactly that, about facing our fears as a community, as a collection of beings, of beings, working really hard to meet our destiny and to transform into the next stage that we are meant to go forward into. So I'm going to continue to toggle down a little bit and tell you a little bit more story, and then we'll jump into the cards. So that's the best close-up that I could get, that I could sort of alter with my technology to make it clear. One of the things I love about these carvings is that it almost looks like a chevron pattern. So there are a lot of carvings that are the spiral. There are carvings that, to me, and again, not an expert, look as though they might be reflections of the night sky in the universe that these people who were living in this time could see. And perhaps a reflection of their ponderings and expression of their idea of what the universe is about. So here's what happened. I went in, I sort of dealt with my own emotions and my own psychology for a few minutes, gobsmacked a little bit looking at this place and the reality that there are people, spirits, 5,000 years ago and more, that were here going through the same kind of process that we're going through today. Very different, obviously very different, the world and their interactions and their challenges. I think underlying was the same notion. How do we do our best? What is it we should focus on? And how do we get there? And so these passage tombs to me were part of the answer that those folks had about how do we get there. So after a few moments of adjustment, I had a little blanket with me, and I decided to put the blanket down and just center myself and pull some cards and see what happens. And so, as I did, sit on the blanket and get settled, there was a friend, I think I told you this, but there was a friend with me, and we just sat in silence for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, I got a leading to throw some runes, so I did that. And as soon as that was done, the door, which in my fear moment, I thought, I'm going to prop the door open because I don't want to be here in the dark. It's too scary for me. So the door shut all by itself. Just, just like in the movies, right? Just you could hear sort of the squeak of the rusty hinge, and the door just shut. And we sat there kind of in shock for a moment. And my friend Paula looked at me and said, should we open the door? I said, you know what? No, let's just be here. Let's see what happens. And so here's the reading that came out. Let's see. Oh, you know what? There's one more thing I want to show you. So that's kind of the view after the door shut. It was very dark. It was very hard to see. Thankfully, there had been drilled some holes in the ceiling to let little tunnels of light in. So there was a little bit of light that was coming in, just enough for me to somewhat see what I was doing. I was taking pictures in the dark of the cards and things, and most of them did come out. So I'm sharing this picture with you so you can try to imagine, I guess, what it was like to sit in this place and feel the intensity of the moment and of the story of our race, our class of beings, humanity, evolving into these moments and forward into the now is what Spirit's telling me. So I shuffled the cards, and I'm going to go through the reading, but I'm going to show you a little bit of what came out, okay? So bear with me. I'm just going to toggle back so you can see me for a moment before we start that. And I'm going to try to look and see if there are any messages coming through. So bear with me. Hang on, folks. And I promise I will get better at this as time goes on. Okay, I'm just waiting for my computer to do its thing. You know what? I haven't figured out how to do the split screen thing yet. So, I see people are saying hi. Hi, everybody. I just want to thank you for being so kind and patient and loving. Let's see. Annette and Lou and Suzanne is here. Hi, Anne. Roxana is here. Some folks I haven't met yet, so that's fun and exciting. All right, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my studio screen so I can see what I'm doing, okay? And then after the reading comes out, what I will do is sort of look at some of the messages, and hopefully we'll have time for you to ask questions and for us to just sort of chat about this, okay? So bear with me. Here we go. All right, so let's toggle back a little bit. Here's where I'm at. I'm sitting there in the dark, thankfully with my friend Paula. And Paula, if you're out there watching, I'm just sending you a hug and a kiss because that was intense. Okay, so, and one other thing, I apologize, I did not, in that moment, we stayed in the tomb for, oh gosh, I guess about 2 hours. So this was the first reading that came out, and sorry, I'm toggling back to the wrong thing. So this was the first reading that came out. It was, my hands were shaking. I was so overwhelmed in all the ways I've been describing, and just, also the joy of being there. there's a story that goes with how this all evolved. And in part, it was something I had been working on manifesting for a while. And one of the live streams I'm hoping to do, if there's an interest, is to just come together on YouTube and talk about that. Because there's magic in the air when it comes to that. That's what I keep getting. And we can all help each other learn and grow and share. Um, I have a pretty good handle on it. I'm not perfect with the manifesting. I still have work to do. But I made a sacred request and I held it in the light, so to speak. And someone gave me the money without my asking, without even knowing that I had the intention. And so that's how this happened. So we'll be talking about that a little bit. So, all right, hang on. I'm going to scroll down. So here I'm going to show you the cards, okay? This is what happened. I'm going to go through the reading, the rune throw. I'm not prepared to do that yet, but we will, I promise. So that's what came out. And what's really interesting to me about that is that right in the center, we see the Sacred Hag. There are actually two cards that came out underneath that. So it was a very deep, profound reading, and Spirit really wanted to talk with us about the journey that we're on in a way that has multiple layers. So for those of you that are new to my readings, the card in the very center is the message, so to speak, or the theme, or the light from Spirit that wants to come out through this particular reading. And again, for those of you that are wondering, when I do a personal reading, I do it exactly the same way after having some conversation with you. So, I went there, had a conversation with Spirit, had to face my own fears in that moment, even though I was, just overwhelmed with gratitude. I had this experience. And so I think that's part of what Spirit wants to talk about. So the card in the center is the combat of skill. Okay? I'm going to toggle back to my happy face so that we can talk about this. Okay? So there it is. That's the combat of skill. This is the Sacred Hag. Sorry. That's silliness. Okay, so the combat of skill. You see, this woman, I find her particularly beautiful, but she's covered in warts. And there's the new moon. This is Spirit talking to us about our passageway through these eclipses, I believe. And, if you are new to that information, I'm not going to go into it here because of time, but go to Google and look up all the transitions that happened and all the things that were meant for us, humanity, when these portals opened this year, this summer in June. Well, for Spirit saying February. So February and June, okay? Notice that she has a barrel of water. Life force energy, love, abundance, the creative process. And so, no surprise to anyone, no surprise to me, we're being put on notice, so to speak, is what's coming through, that the discussion wants to be about breaking through our illusions as a collective. And that's the work that's been done through all the people who are channeling messages, I believe, from Spirit. And, I'm just one of them. There are so many people, and Spirit's telling me, actually, it includes each and every one of you. Because we now know, that's the phrase that's coming through, the intuitions you get, the inklings you get, follow them. They are about divine inspiration, okay? So there's a story, those of you who aren't familiar with the channel or these cards, these are Celtic Wisdom Tarot deck. I apologize, I forgot to say that. There's a story that goes with this card that has to do with breaking through an illusion. And so more work, sort of, I guess two things are coming through. Yes, we're being acknowledged because that's the work we've been doing. That's our destiny. And there is more to come. In 2018, actually, that's what I'm getting. Okay? So this is the sacred hag who has many disguises and whose job it is to help us on our journey. And clearly, Spirit wants us to understand through the phases of the moon going forward. Okay? So so that's the theme going forward. Here's the next card. And I love this card. All right? There. That's us. Okay? It's going to take me a while to figure out how to move my hand to get it into the camera. The King of Skill. It's a beautiful card. The King of Skill stands in his workshop. His battles are behind him. His shield is hung on the wall. And he's come to this beautiful place of rest. There's a beautiful ocean outside the door, beautiful golden light on the sand. And what he's doing is he's making shoes with which to go forward on his journey. I love the metaphor of that. And it is that will. Okay. Sorry, guys, about my silly hands. And, again, as I get used to this, we won't have to go through this together. So, all right. There's the King of Skill. And, the reason he's the King of Skill is because he's been through his battles. He's dealt with all the things he's needed to deal with. And he's come to a place of rest inside of himself. He's taken off his armor. And he's bringing his energy and his attention to things that will help him move forward in his own personal journey. And so, I believe the message is that's where Spirit wants us to focus. Be the King of Skill in your own life. I talked to so many people, and I've gotten some beautiful messages just this morning from folks that I have done readings with about what it is when you step onto your own path and how we do have to struggle through to get to this place inside of ourselves, to understand that we are the king of our own journey. It doesn't matter where you're going. Each one of us has our own destination, right? I mean, we know that. I hope everybody knows that, okay? So, this is us. Humanity, the collective. It's time. We have the capacity now to be in ourselves, to be inside our collective, each of us with this energy on our heart, mind chakra. That's what's coming through. So what's interesting about this to me is that there's another card. And as I was saying, look at this. The Challenger. Whoops, wrong way. The Challenger. Look at that. Talk about ancient wisdom. Isn't that phenomenal? So this is a major arcana card. It's actually the Challenger of will. And so, in our process as we develop, of course our will is being challenged. Oh, golly gee. And we have these aspects here. The human element, okay, this way. That's a torque, a form of jewelry. And we saw a lot of carvings that look just like that. I wish I had. Next time I go back, I'm going to take a really fancy camera. And the snake that sheds its skin. In order to have this experience, to see the sacred mind here and all the things that are challenging it. Look at that. All the souls. That's what Spirit was telling me. A collective of souls being challenged. Golly. Sorry, guys. The purpose of this energy is to allow us to face and vanquish our fears. That's the whole intention of this card. And, like all these cards, there's a story that goes behind it, okay? In traditional tarot, that's aligned with the Devil card, which is about facing yourself, all the things that would tempt you to go off your internally led journey, that take you astray, that take your energy. And in Soul Tarot, That really, and if you think about it in life, that has everything to do with our fears. So, when the door swung shut, some part of me wanted to get up and run out the door because I thought, here we go. Because Spirit knows I'm here and is intending to have a conversation with me. I'm not sure if I can handle it, right? So that's what Spirit's talking about. And I think in part that's why all those fears were coming up. It's the fears that we hold as a collective. It's time to let them go. And what would happen if we just let go of our fears? Right? Sounds like a platitude, doesn't it? It sounds like psychobabble. But in those moments I really had that experience. I had to just go straight into my fear and sit there with it and tolerate it until something else happened. And so in another stream, we'll talk about that maybe in general. Here's the first card, okay, on our human journey. You know what? Let me toggle back. Hang on a second. I'm going to transition back to the card reading so you can see the placement. So you see on that bottom line on the left, that's the first step on our human journey, okay? And this is the beautiful goddess of the River Boyne. It's a story about a woman who went through her own transition. And look at that. Highly activated. Sitting in this, or standing rather, in this beautiful, beautiful valley with the sun coming up. She has abundance in her hands, right? And she actually she did become in her life the river. And so, our energy as a collective now has the potential, when we let go of our fears or we face them and walk forward with them, we have the capacity to be extremely creative, to create the world that we want. And that's what I've been talking about all this year. So the message here is pay close attention to your, I'm just laughing at myself, guys, to your creative urges. Because each one of us has within us this sacred energy. And that's the pathway that we need to follow as we walk with our new shoes, releasing our fears. Walk straight into your creativity, Spirit saying, and trust that you will connect with yourself in a way that is very deep going forward in 2018, okay? And I promise I'm going to do another card reading for the new year, okay, when the new year comes up. So I'm going to transition back, okay? So look at the next card that's standing next to the Woman of Art. That, I call him that guy, okay? So that guy, he is a bard. And the story behind that card is that he was one of the cantors, if you will, a singer, a poet, and held an enormous amount of wisdom in the ancient days. And there was a battle. And after the battle was done, his sacred instrument had been stolen. And it was taken intentionally because there was a knowledge that that was going to be very upsetting in a general way. And disempowering is the word that's coming through. So, as we are creating with the help of this beautiful goddess of the River Boyne, part of what's going to happen is we are going to have this adventure. A very artful adventure. So, again, this is about being creative in all the ways that are inspired inside of you. It doesn't matter. Each of us have something very important to offer by being who we are. And it is that creative urge that we have to recapture. That's the story. You see the sacred harp? And it's interesting to me because, this card comes up when Spirit wants me to talk about vibration. It's a string instrument. So he had to go under cloak of night in secret to the enemy encampment in order to sit outside the camp. And, I would say, in these days, we would use the word chanting, but to sing the sacred songs and the chants that would cause this instrument to rise up literally and float through the air and return to him. And he was successful. And it was this journey that caused the turning, whoops, wrong hand, of his life. Okay? The birth, death, birth spiral. The turning of our own lives, the turning of our own destiny. In these moments, here on the earth, with the help of Pluto, that's what keeps coming through. When we feel as though something precious has been lost and we don't know how to get it back, and our heart is longing so deeply that it brings our creative desire, whoops, back to the surface and activates our energy. Look at the passion. Look how beautiful. Just standing in this beautiful energy. And you know, it's blue and green, new growth and transformation flowing out over the earth from that which is already inside of us, waiting to be activated as we walk forward with the energy of the King of Skill to turn our own spiral of destiny. It's beautiful to me, just intensely beautiful. So the last step, I'm going to toggle back. The last step on the human journey, you see that card on the lower right from the, I actually just realized it may not look the same to you, but from my view, it's the lower right. So that is a story about a young man who took up a dare on Halloween. It has to do with Queen Maeve, and I did get to go to Queen Maeve's chair, and I have some pictures I'll show in one of the readings that I did from the tomb upon which Queen Maeve's throne sits. It's an amazing place. So he took up this dare on the day when the veil between the spirit world and the human world is its absolute thinnest. That's the story behind that card. So hang on, I'm going to toggle back. So here it is in real time, okay? The adventure of knowledge. It's about going back and forth between this world and the other world. And look again, look at the moon, okay? Spirit wants us to pay attention to the cycles of the moon going forward. So this looks a little bit gruesome. It's kind of a scary story. It's a Halloween story, all right? This, gee whiz, sorry guys. All right, he had to go out and put a rope around a corpse to prove his bravery and that he had what it took, you know? And what happened to him, he decided to go do it. And he stepped into the field, and the moment he did, he had a vision, and he crossed over to the land of the fairies. And he met a woman there who helped him to prevent this outcome. This is about a city in the background, the place where he lived. It was a fort burning to the ground. He had this vision. And it caused him to cross right over. He met a woman who was a banshee. Interestingly enough, see that? Look. Just ponder that for a second. And she helped him sound the warning and go back and forth between this world and the other in order to solve this problem. And so, you know, this is the last card on our human journey. This is what it's going to take. We're going to have to face our fears, face our illusions, work with the cycles of the moon and the energy that comes through. I think going forward for Spirit's telling me forever now, there's a desire that we should be working with these energies in order to help us understand the deeper aspects of ourselves and our creativity. Okay? So, back to this guy. Whoops. He eventually solved the dilemma. He was able to form an alliance with the fairies, with this banshee woman. She, of course, required things of him, just like this woman required things of the people who came and asked her for access to the water. And you know what? I didn't tell that whole story. Her requirement was, you have to kiss me. And so Well, nobody was willing to do it. Even though there was no water, no life energy, no abundance, things were in a horrible state. Apply love. That's what comes through me every time this card comes up. Ultimately, what had to happen was someone had to be willing to apply love to the ugliness. And so I know as a metaphor you understand that. All right. So he had to do the same thing, essentially. And he had to work with the cycles of the moon and the banshees and face what was happening. And through a lot of hard work, this is about hard work and perseverance through the seasons and through your fears in order to reach a goal. So it's a repetition of that message. And he was successful. He prevented this, the fort didn't burn down, and he eventually crossed back over and stayed through the rest of his life with the fairies and lived in the spirit world, essentially. Okay? So, toggling back and forth again. You see the card in the left row right in the center? For those of you that don't know, that's the bridge card. The energy that moves us from our, that connects us, I guess is a better word, Spirit saying, our earthly journey into our spirit journey and what's happening in the unseen places. Okay? So, here it is. The augury of art. That's a prophecy. And it's interesting because again, it's female energy, it's potent, it's fertile. And look at all the water. Again, beautiful depiction of water. There's the shining city. There it is. Yep. Okay. It's not burning down. It's filled with passionate energy. A lot going on in this depiction. So this is about manifesting. Okay. And again, it's interesting because it sits on the table like this, right? Okay. Look at that. It's a very fertile time for us as a collection of beings. And with our creativity intact, going forward into this journey, we have the ability to manifest what we want out of the sacred cauldron from which all things come. Enormous amounts of creativity and abundance. And if you look into these illustrations, you will get some information inside of yourself about the meaning, and your own interpretation is fine. It's pretty obvious, right? This woman is standing in front of the sacred cauldron, performing a ceremony in a very new place. Inside of herself, Spirit is saying, the augury, the prophecy, a numeral 1 card, a new beginning, in order to manifest what we want because of this journey we've been on. So here's the first card on the spirit realm. Look at that. That looks upsetting, doesn't it? Okay. Combat of knowledge. Okay. We are going to have some challenges. That's why the challenger of will is right in the center of this reading. We are going to continue to run these races, so to speak. This woman ran a race because of something, a wager that was made by her husband. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. She was a magical goddess. So, let me toggle back one more time. You see this line, this left-hand line? There are 3 goddesses in a row. This is about the fertility of this journey that we're on. She was successful. She had to run a race, actually, while she was in labor, with the most powerful racehorse that her husband owned. He was a king. And in the moment when she ran the race, she won and she gave birth the moment she touched the stone. And she gave birth to twins. New ways to go forward. So, this notion of fertility in these moments, when we feel like things are really difficult for us on a spiritual basis and we don't know how to get there and we don't know exactly what to do, and we're feeling, this card can be equated with, frustration and anger, the position that we're in, etc. So, we're being acknowledged. Spirit knows this is difficult on a spiritual basis. Sometimes this is how we feel, and we get angry, we get frustrated, we feel hopeless. Spirit's basically saying, don't you worry. You just keep running the race with your power intact. Exactly what these cards have been saying, okay? Recapture yourself because, on the spirit realm, the same spirit saying the same kind of race is going on inside of us, okay? So, a commercial here for a minute. This was a little bit of an experiment for me. Part of the challenge I'm going to have to learn about is lighting. So the light is beginning to change. I'm sitting in the near the front windows of the house, and um, it's winter time, so the light's lower in the sky. So I'm acknowledging. I just want you to know that I know. So this is the second card. Look at that. That's a major arcana. Do you see where she sits? Okay. So yeah, we're going through some trials and tribulations. We are being led on a spiritual basis. These things that we're going through here on earth, don't doubt for a moment that there's a very sacred journey going on that is deeply supported across the mystical realm. Okay? This goddess is the mingler of energy. She is the sacred alchemist, and she is here with us with her entire gaze and intention on all that is happening here on this planet and across the universe, which we don't have the ability to know about yet, right? But, let's say it this way, with science, we haven't gotten there yet. So spirits, what's coming through is this is the mind, that the space that spirit wants us to hold and to know that's absolutely true. Look, let's see if I can figure out where to put my finger. Good gracious. All right. So that's the mindset that we're to have. And that vessel, that's us. That's what Spirit's saying. Don't doubt for a moment that we're in partnership. We truly are. And, I love the image of us as a vessel. Please understand, it's time for us to know that we are a vessel of the sacred. Those words and those notions have been around for eons, but it's really true. And being inside those passage tombs gave me an outlook about that and what it is to have our spirit in passage in this very sacred way. It's a beautiful notion. Okay? So, here's the next card. You see that card? Last card on the spirit line. Couple things I want you to look at this middle card on the left hand line, the line of the goddess, I call it. Okay, there's a prophecy, and this is what the prophecy is about. In a sense, we're in this dialogue with spirit, and I love that there's male energy here. This blending, hand in hand. Okay, walking up the hill, metaphorically, spirit says, of course, into our ability to see the wisdom that exists, to have higher vision. Eagles soar effortlessly on the energy that's available to them, on the drafts, on the heat in the sky. And they have the ability to see long distances with great accuracy and vision. And so, again, on the spirit realm, this is the journey that is destined for us. And again, it's interesting because Spirit keeps talking to me about 2018. I've been talking about 2018 all year, little bits at a time, that this year is a year of preparation, a year of growth. a year of facing our fears and ourselves and coming home to ourselves and all the ways that have been coming through the readings. All right. If you haven't seen the readings, treat yourself, watch a couple of them, and you'll see there's an amazing story that's been going on month to month. And it has been, much like this in a certain way. Okay. So here's the outcome 2018. This is what we have to look forward to: a new quest, the quest of art. Okay. Ushered in by the goddess in the Boyne Valley. This is how we walk. This is our human energy. Okay? And there it is. That's how it's going to feel when we walk straight into our fears. And I know that many of you out there have had this experience where you've been able to just come to this moment. Look at the flush on the cheeks. Just, Spirit's telling me, kind of like I'm doing right now, right? So this terrifies me a little bit. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is brand new for me. But this is what pushes me forward because that's how it feels inside of me. All right? This beautiful quest, the art of my own life. And each of us have this aspect. When you reach deep down and you come to that moment of discovery, and you've walked through your fears and you have your passion, your transformation accompanying you, and you have that higher vision, this is what we're going to find. And so, I'm going to toggle back to the card spread for a second. Let's look at the progression of this. We're bursting through these illusions in order to become the king of our own existence and create our own ability to walk through our lives, our own shoes, with which to face our fears and activate the beautiful, creative impulse inside of us. And it is that impulse, and I'm talking about the woman of art who's down the left side on the first card on the human journey. That creative impulse. I'm going to toggle back. Okay, there she is. Look, it's that activation. It's that impulse that brings the energy that we need to go forward. Okay? So, going forward, I would love for you to hold the notion about the fertility of these moments and about the impulse that we have inside of us to face our fears, to deal with that which causes us to be uncomfortable as we transition and make our own pathway going forward. In order to have the ability to connect with the alchemy of all the other beings here on this planet. And Spirit, actually, you know what? In the moment, I'll show you my face again. Hi, guys. So, what Spirit's talking to me about is not just human creatures, all creatures, animals, plants, trees. Spirit's talking to me about the wind, right? So, the energy that flows through this life that we're leading. So, I am going, give me a minute because I'm going to toggle back to YouTube so I can see the chat, okay? And we'll go forward from there and see if you guys have any questions. It's almost 2 o'clock. My gosh, I talked for a whole hour. So there's a little bit of a delay, as I told you. So I'm going to just pay attention to the chat. If you have any questions, those of you that have to go, thank you for being here. And I'll look forward to talking with you some more as time goes on and the live stream develops and I get more comfortable with my brand new skills. I'm very excited. So in this moment, I'm going to stop talking for a minute, see if you have any questions you want to put on the chat, and see if I can answer them. And for those of you that have to go, thank you so much for being here. It was really fun for me, and I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to be together in this way. If you want a personal reading, all that information, scroll down below the video, click the show more button. All that stuff is right there, guys, okay? And I'll be in touch with you as soon as I can. So let's see who's here. Witcher. Hi, Witcher. Gina. Hi. Oh, gosh, you guys, all these beautiful messages. Thank you so much. Roxana, hi. There's so many messages, I can't scroll through them all. But hey, hi from England. That's wonderful. Hey, Suze, I got your message. I think you probably saw me trying to do one of the live stream tests. So that was my bad. I was, I've been trying to get this up and running, and so I've been doing test after test after test. This morning I got up and I thought, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll. And guess what happened? Just to scare me, right? The camera wouldn't work. And I'm not a techie, and I had a moment of panic that was so profound. But I figured it out. I'm getting there. So, I don't know. I think Spirit likes to yank my chain sometimes. It's just to see how I'm going to react. So, Witcher, yes, there will be October readings. I'm going to do them all just like this. Okay, so all the cards that have come out, I did every single reading in the Passage Tombs. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm trying to figure out, and let me know your opinion. I think what I might do is do the readings not in order, so to speak. I will do all the readings that came out in the Fourknocks Passage Tomb, which is the one that the community reading came from. I think there are 2 or 3 other readings. And then I will move on to the next section of readings. I think there are 4 different Passage Tombs that I did readings in. They're very beautiful. They're really profound. So if you can tolerate this, that's how it's going to come out. All of these live streams for the October readings are going to be open to the public. So once the video is done and the stream stops, YouTube takes some time to process that, and then it'll just post on my channel. You can watch it. Okay? So bear with me. I know this is a little uncomfortable as I transition. The other thing is, just so you know, I realized this morning, oh my gosh, I can do the private readings on YouTube. And you can have a video of your reading. All I have to do is set it to private. So I'm going to be working on figuring that out. And then you'll be able to have a video of your reading, which will be really, really awesome. Okay? Let's see. Yeah, you love the windows? Hi, Suze. There's a story that goes with those windows in the background. I found them. Someday, if you guys want to hear it, we'll just do some fun, informal live stream. I'll tell you the story of how this house came to be. It was basically delivered to me piece by piece, kind of like the money showed up for me to take this journey. Something happened. There was a mystical thing that happened when I least expected it, kind of like when the door shut in the Passage Tomb and I had my oh my God moment. And this house happened. So there's a long story that goes with that. It's beautiful here, and every morning I wake up and I realize that I'm in this place, and it just still blows my mind. It's been almost 20 years. So everything in this house was given to me in one way or another by people who wanted to contribute when the word started going out about what was happening here. So let's see. Will this video be available offline? Yes, my understanding is yes, it will. So again, this is a first effort experiment. I believe that this video, that this live stream will turn into a video and it will be on the channel. So if that's not true, I'll do everything in my power to make sure I'm up to speed with that factor going forward. But I'm pretty sure. I'm about 99% sure. I could be wrong. Oh, you guys are awesome. Just give me a minute. I'm going to scroll up and look through some of the messages to see if there are other questions coming through. Annette says, you were given the date 1821. Has to do with your past life. That's fascinating. I feel ya. Things like that happen to me all the time. So I understand. Annette says 4 months ago she was led by spirit to research this burial site. You have an idea why, but not completely. Yeah, I've been drawn there in a way that's very profound. While I was gone, there was some more construction going on here. There's a process beginning in order to prepare this place to receive people in person. I don't know how long that's going to take, so there was some excavating going on. When I got back, guess what I found on my property? A huge vein of quartz, gigantic, and something that looks a little bit like a burial mound, which was one of the intuitions that I had when I first came up here. So I've been flummoxed since I got back. There's a lot going on in the background, including a little tragedy that happened, but I'm weathering that. And I haven't yet even touched that part of this journey, but I thought it was really a wonderful gift that I was given, that while I was gone, all of these things are being uncovered. So there's a huge vein of gigantic quartz that runs through the property, and I could feel it, and that's why I chose to build here. So let's see, more on that. Sometime if you guys want, let me know. We can just do a live stream where we can just sort of chat and visit. Let's see. Annette, I saw your message about the dream you had, and it gave me a shiver because, again, I've had those kind of experiences. Good for you. Go straight into that. There's magic there for you. Something's going on, right? Lou Jones, did I get the feeling that the bodies were brought in and then prepared on the altars? Well, I guess the feeling that I got was that it was a very sacred effort to help people move through the factors of passage. And if we think about what we went through this year with the eclipses that came in February and again in June, and if you have an interest and you haven't seen them, there's videos on my channel about that. It's about your soul being prepared. We're done with our physical form when we pass over. And so there is some time that we have available to us, I believe, before we cross completely. And, who knows what that's all about? Maybe it's about processing. Maybe it's just about being still after so much activity that it takes to go through a human life. I have a suspicion. It's an intuition. I know this is not based in any truth or research, okay? It's just my internal inkling that what happened was over the course of a year, when folks were brought to the passage tomb, their bodies would be cremated, the ashes would be brought, and that they would make their way through the 4 directions. And perhaps that all of those remains, all those ashes were blended together just before the solstice in the main altar. Okay, let me toggle back if I can figure this out. I'm looking forward to when this is easy for me. All right, hang on, guys. Let's see. All right, check this out. So that's the main altar. I'm calling it an altar. Really what it is a bowl, okay? In these places, these, I'm just going to use the word altar. It's probably not the right word. Were constructed. There were 3 of them in the Null Passage tomb. And, it's a circular, in a certain way, it's circular. And you could feel the energy moving around. So I think what happened is the remains were probably moved in a ceremonial way and then all gathered together into this spot to await the solstice so that they could go forward as a group. And isn't it interesting? That's the message that's coming through. And when I do the readings, I always have my personal intention. And much of the time, that gets pushed out of the way because spirit knows best, right? So I have a thought, I'm going to do this, and then the day unfolds and something happens and I'm doing a reading that I didn't intend to do because of something that happens here in the natural world, because of something that happens in the house, whatever. So I just go with the flow. And that was the feeling I got. It might be my projection. I try to be really humble about all this stuff. So let me move this because I think the light's getting a little crazy. So yeah, I think that's my guess. There's no way of knowing because we don't know how to read the glyphs. That's part of what I was thinking while I was standing in these places. Sorry, I'm being a little distracted. All right, here I'm back. Let's see. Hi, Crystal. Thanks for your message. All right, gang. It's almost 10 after 2. I said I would go for an hour. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Monique, hi. Thanks for being here. Give me a sec to read through the messages. Maylene, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but thanks for being here. Michelle, hi Michelle. Emerald Orchid, love that. Hi Gina. So, the other thing I'm going to sort of look at, I know I cannot satisfy everybody in every time zone. I'm going to just ask for divine guidance on that because I want this to happen. These first few are going to happen like this, probably in the middle of the day. Because, those of you who don't know, I run my life with solar panels. So, in order to be able to generate the amount of electricity I need to generate to run the computer and run the software and et cetera, I've decided until I feel well versed in all the technology, I better do it when I know that I have as much electricity as I can generate. Because I don't want that challenge on top of everything else, okay? Let's see. All right, guys, I think I'm going to sign off. Thanks for the compliments on the windows. They came through some divine inspiration. And isn't it beautiful? You know what? It's one of the what's the word? Contradictions. I'm a person who generally doesn't participate in religion for my own reasons, nothing against anybody. I understand why people gravitate toward that, but it's not something that works for me. So I love the fact that Spirit pushed my buttons because those windows came out of a church straight up. So, obviously there's a message there for me. Someday I'll figure the whole thing out. It's not just about pretty windows. So maybe I'm just not ready to hear that yet. All right, I'm scrolling down as far as I can. So, if any of you are out there and you've signed up for live stream and you haven't gotten an email from me, please let me know. I've worked really hard to make sure that everybody's on the list, but I'm human and I've been overwhelmed. So please send me an email if you're supposed to be on the live stream subscribers list and let me know. Okay, and I'll put you on the list. All right, guys, thanks for your patience and your love and your willingness to explore and your support. I really appreciate it. I'm going to toggle back to the reading, okay, so that you can see that, and hopefully that will show up in the stream when the video comes out. So hang on a second. Let me transition back. One moment, please. There we go. And hey, one last thing. If there's anybody out there who's really good at reading runes, please send me an email. I did a rune throw. I've never done it before. I use them in the personal readings and sometimes in the monthly readings, as you know. But it's not something I've developed, and Spirit's pushing me now. So I did throw the runes. Something kind of magic happened. You can see some of them. I did put the reading down sort of right in the middle of that. So there's a message there. I haven't decoded it yet. So I think that's one of the next things for me in terms of my own art and craft. I'm going to be developing that skill set. Would love your help. If you have knowledge of that, that'd be awesome. So, guys, thank you so much again. Sending big hugs and love to everybody. And I'll look forward to seeing you the next time. Let's see. I'm going to schedule these readings. You know what? I'm going to have to make a little video. They're going to come sometime over the next week and a half because I've got to start making the videos for November. So I'm going to push these live streams out. I'm going to do all the readings on live stream, and I'll make a video about the schedules, and I'll post it public so that you'll be able to see it. Hopefully that'll be up tomorrow morning, okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.